And start recording. Okay. Did you read your first 3 chapters?
I've read them. I need to go back and reread them, but I did read them.
Is this the first time you've read this book? I couldn't
I've
remember.
been reading on it. Yes, it's the first time I've been reading on it.
Okay. Abby, have you read this book before?
I have not. I have had it in my house for a long time and I have wanted to read it, but I never got around to it. So I'm really excited to dive into it.
And I know, Angie, this is the book you wanted, right? This is one of them that you wanted?
It's one of them. There was another one that I actually recommended first, but I'm fine. I'm actually excited to read this again because I was just sitting here working on reading, and I've read this before, and reading it now, it's like I've never read it before.
Isn't that crazy?
Mm-hmm.
So do you want to hear something a little obnoxious that Genevieve recommends that we do in our Diamond Sprint training? She wants us every time we read a personal development book or a book like this to listen to it 7 times in a row. She says it takes that many times for us to really get it all, which makes sense. Because I've listened to this book 3 times, and in doing the first 3 chapters again, I was like, oh, because
Exactly.
it's kind of the best thing I can compare it to in really solid, great books like this is like the Bible, like where you may read the same scripture 40 times, and then all of a sudden one day you read it and you're like, oh, that scripture is meant for me. And you're like, okay, you've read that, but you right then, where are you right now?
Exactly.
Abby, were you going to say something?
No, I'm working in my room and the dog jumped in the bed and I was telling him to get down. Sorry.
You're good. Okay, so let's just dig right in. Um, any thoughts on chapter 1, the surprising power of atomic habits? He really starts by talking about the British cycling team, which, of course they always wanted to win gold medals. Of course they always wanted to win Tour de France. And when changing tiny little things, like, did you pick up on where they even spray paint? They painted the entire interior of the van white so that they could see if there was any dust, because that would get on the bike. And I'm like,
yeah, it really is the little things that you have to pay attention to. I liked kind of going with that, how he was talking about, it's everyone's goal to win the Tour de France, but not everyone's going to win it. So it's, what are you doing to get you there? So I felt like it was, we always focus on our goals, our goals, our goals. And this gave me a different perspective. I don't think we should do away with goals, in my personal opinion, but goals are not enough. You have to have the systems, and that's more what you need to concentrate on than your goals.
yeah. And I think he says somewhere, like, you need the goal to set the direction, right? But you need the habits, the consistent habits to get there. And I don't know if you guys, along the same lines of like everybody wants to win, but did you guys know that anytime Kobe Bryant felt like he didn't play a great game, they had to keep the courts open for him post game, and he would sometimes shoot until like 2 a.m. Like, they had to keep staff there to keep the lights on at the Staples Center, and he would shoot until 1, 2 a.m. after a game if he felt like his game wasn't perfect. Like,
I didn't know
yeah.
Wow.
I mean, it's insane. If you ever do any studying on like how Kobe Bryant became, Michael Jordan's story is great also, because he didn't even make his high school. He didn't even start playing until 7th grade. And in his first year, he never even made a shot. Right. And so to go from that, but like Kobe's dad had him playing at 5. So it was a different thing, but like it's these habits of like, this is just what I do. Both of them always were at practice hours before anybody else, at practice hours after, shooting way more baskets. And people are like, how did they get so great? Oh, because they practiced 40 hours a week more than the other professional players, right? Not even than the average person, like more than professional players. It really is, you know, like Abby said, it's the systems. And this got me thinking, you know, you guys all know, unrelated to Atomic Habits, but you guys all know about like the winning day worksheets and, you know, that Genevieve suggests. And when I started in her training last March, not this March, but last March, I did it for a solid 6 months, 5 days a week without fail, the entire formula, everything. And so did Deanna. So side by side for 6 months solid, we did the exact formula that we were told to do. And then in the last, you know, 6-8 months, neither one of us have. You know, we've each done it to different degrees or whatever. And to give you a Plexus perspective of that, my team points are 600, almost 700 points lower now than when I did these 7 things every day. Is that not bonkers? Like I was listening to this today, like how doing 1% better on each little thing. And I was like, 7 things where I stopped doing all 7 every day. Maybe it would have taken me an extra 15 minutes a day over time, right? Because he's like 1% over time. You don't notice it. But I look back now and I'm like 7 months later, 8 months later, I'm down almost 700 points.
Wow.
So
That's senior Ruby. That's a whole senior Ruby.
correct. Yeah, I was almost a sapphire. And then I got lazy. Because that's all it is, right? These things are not hard. You guys all know exactly what these are. Nothing on this. You would not look at one single one of these 7 steps and go, that's hard. I don't know how to do that. Would you? Bye. I love you.
Will I see you?
I think so. I don't know. Depends on when I leave for my retreat.
Don't hurt me with your lips.
I get sunburned lips.
Hi, everybody. Sorry.
But that right at the beginning, 1% worse every day for 1 year, you know, 0.99365 is so it's really, and it doesn't decline that much, but the results. So I would like to focus on when for 6 months straight, I did these steps every day. And my outside leg points almost tripled when I did that. So it's time for me to get back to work. You know, I love where he says habits are the compound interest of self-improvement. The same way that money multiplies through compound interest, the effects of your habits multiply as you repeat them. When you were reading through this, did any of you guys think of habits that you may need to add or possibly get rid of? Does anybody have habits they should remove? I mean, let's talk through kind of your thoughts on this.
Lack of focus.
Go ahead, Jenna.
I'm just saying a lack of focus. That's a huge habit.
The what? I couldn't understand you.
A lack of focus.
A lack of focus. Okay. So I would dare you to dig in a little deeper because I don't know that focus could be a habit. A habit might be, I set my timer for 15 minutes. And for 15 minutes, I reach out to people until my timer goes up. Or whatever you want to get better at, you would say,
Lord, buddy, my name's Michael. Sorry.
I love you.
Can I have one of your chargers in the car?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, car. Okay, bye.
Bye. Hi, everybody.
Dad is, Andrew did not get to go to the ship last night. He gets to go today for family day. Okay. Sorry, that's where they're going to do it. Debbie, what are the 5 habits you're talking about? What are you at? What are you asking me about specifically?
Sorry, I'm in there. Like when you say the 5 habits that he talks, he doesn't give specific habits, does he?
Oh, before you got on, we were talking about the winning day worksheet, the 7
Okay.
steps.
Okay.
So they
Yeah.
are habits, but if you do them every day, they become habits.
Got
So
it.
the habit would be getting the winning day done.
Yeah.
All 7 things. Does that make sense? I think we were just
Mhm.
talking about it before you jumped on, so that makes sense that you wouldn't. No, we haven't started talking about any specific habits yet.
In the book. Yeah, because I finally found the book and I'm like, because I knew I had it. I was like, yeah, let's do that one. And I'm like, what one? So
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah.
got it.
So, Gina, I think with your focus, does that make sense? Like, what are you like? Focus can't be a habit, but a system of what you wanted to get better at or focus on or something like that. Do you need help with that? Like, is there something focus specific that you're talking about?
No, I like the timer idea. I like
Okay.
the timer idea.
Okay. Abby, were you going to share something?
I was just gonna say that I do want to spend some time trying to figure out what are the things that I want to make happen and what habits I need to develop in order to make those things happen.
Mhm.
I do know one thing is like whenever I used to plan my days out the night before and say, okay, these are the appointments I have to work this, or I'm going to work out at this time. Like I found that my days were way more productive and successful when I had those types of nights the night before.
Mhm.
Right now, I'm even struggling just to even put food in the crock pot, even though I have my menu placed and I have groceries in the house. I'm just struggling to even get food in the crock pot just because I'm not organized enough in that. And that used to be something I used to do all the time was, okay, I'm going to get up at this time. I'm going to do my Bible study. I'll do my reading. I'm going to do work. I'll work out. And I just was able to get a lot more accomplished. And I find that I'm sliding back
Mhm.
and constantly trying to play catch up right now.
Yeah, and I think that's common for anybody when their day is running them and they're not running their day. So if you haven't mapped out your day every day, you kind of are flying by the seat of your pants.
I feel like
Everybody is.
for the most part, I have some structure, but it does change from time to time. So I feel like on Sundays, I probably need to look out and plan whatever I have in the sense of meetings that's not going to change or appointments that won't change. But like maybe the night before is okay, well, I didn't get this chore done on Monday night. So now I need to move it to Tuesday. Where am I going to put that in on my schedule? Where do I have the time to allocate that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you suggest doing it as a week by week or like a night by night?
I do it. I do it every Sunday night.
You plan out your week every Sunday night? Like hourly?
I'll show you. Other people on some of the coaching have seen this, but yeah, this is an example of just 3 days on mine. Everything from exercise to drive, if I have to drive somewhere, gets a 30-minute spot because I live 30 minutes from everywhere. If I have a meeting, so I know I have to like look better than this, get ready is on there because I got to shower and if I'm leaving the house, get ready is an hour because I have to walk the dogs before I leave. So I got to shower, blow dry my hair, do my makeup, get dressed, walk the dogs, make sure Andrew's okay, right? So get ready because I'm leaving the house is always an hour slot. Like every single thing on here. And then I plug in, Abby, I don't leave any gaps. So, but I will plug in a to-do spot. So things that have fallen to my to-do list would get done at 3. Right? So everybody is not as intense as I am. I have dear friends who think I'm bonkers, but it just makes it easier for me. And it doesn't mean I stick to this 1 gazillion%, but it gives me a really solid idea of what my day is going to look like.
Okay.
And I will make adjustments as needed throughout the week, but I fill out the whole thing, on Sunday night.
And for the most part, you're able to stick to it though.
Mm-hmm. Some things may fall to later in the day, right? Like if I don't get certain things done, I may be doing things in the evening, which I don't love to do. But also, like, for instance, when Rob is out of town, I will work later into the day. Like I will, because nobody really needs me. Angie
Mhm.
wants to play video games, right? So, and you're doing single mom life. So you've got to have segments where you're totally focused on the kids, right? And so certain things may fall to the evening or but you know what needs to happen and what needs to take priority. And I'm a firm believer, if it's not on your calendar, it won't get done, because to-do lists just keep growing. So
Well,
my
and
system is everything goes on
Right.
a calendar.
and that's where I'm at. Everything is just completely long, and honestly, my to-do list is unattainable to get it all done in a week as far as what I do week to week. So I'm trying to figure out how to streamline everything and get more structured and organized, and so I can achieve more things. I know I can do it. I used to do it. It's just trying to get back in that habit.
Yeah, I don't remember what training it was that I was on, or what book it was, or what podcast it was, but that's what he said. He said, if it's not on your calendar, you're not going to get it done.
Okay.
And he said also to-do lists are so defeating, because we look at it every day and it's still there. Like, you might have crossed off 4 things and then there's 6 more things added. So it keeps growing. And so he said, if something is important that it needs to get done, give it a spot on your calendar, because we are much more likely as humans to keep appointments on our calendar.
Okay. Makes sense.
You could try it, it's
Right.
it may work, it may not, but that's the system that I use to get 4 gajillion things done. Okay, other thoughts so far?
Well, something that I marked on page 18 and I wrote ouch out in the margin is the paragraph where he says your outcomes are a lagging measure of your habits. Your net worth is a lagging measure of your financial habits. Your weight is a lagging measure of your eating habits. Your knowledge is a lagging measure of your learning habits. Your clutter is a lagging measure of your cleaning habits. And that was ouchy for me, because especially clutter is taking over my house, but clutter has always been an issue for me. And it's accurate. It's a measure of my lack of dealing with it habits.
Yeah. Avoidance.
Yes.
So you may have a real strong habit of avoidance, and that may be one, as we work through things that you want to, because having gone through this book before, you've gone through it before too, but we will work on habits that we need to remove in order to become more efficient. There's 24 hours a day, right? So, but that can't be, I dare say that's not the only area in your life that you avoid. It probably is just what is visible to you.
Oh, yeah, you're right. There's a lot of things I avoid.
Yeah. So that's just kind of and how we talked about, I don't know which chapter it is, where maybe maybe the 3rd chapter, I don't know, but where he talks about, like, we're like, well, I'm just forgetful. I just don't remember people's names. I just avoid clutter. Like, we take those on as our labels, and maybe we don't want them anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe
That's
they
actually
aren't.
in chapter 2, because
Is
that's
that
what I was
2?
reading right before I saw, oh, it's time to get on.
Yeah. Like it's a maybe.
They're based in identity. Habits are based in identity.
And so deciding, again, going back to the goals, we have to have goals. We have to know, hey, who do we want to become? And then building what we're going to work on is building the habits to become that. Like, I know that I almost became Sapphire doing all of this. I really have a huge desire to become Diamond. Do you know what that means? No matter how boring this gets, I already know it works. So implement that habit. Very similar to when I had all of that weight loss and strength gains last year before I hurt my shoulder. Like I knew exactly what I did to do that, and then I couldn't do it anymore. And so I can look and go, okay, I know exactly what habits I had to get to that end picture where everybody's like, oh, you look amazing, and it's on the Plexus website and all of that. And I know exactly what I did to get there, but I have to make the decision, do I want to do that again? You know, and the answer is yes, but it's changing habits. That means not eating in bed at night. That means for sure not eating peanut M&Ms in bed at night, right? You know, it's like, what habits do I need to remove?
Mhm.
What habits do I need to add? Let's see. I also, mastery requires patience. Isn't that the truth?
Where's that at?
That, well, it's right underneath what I thought I had the real book. I think I gave it to somebody, so I'm on the ebook, so I don't have pages. Angie, do you see it? It's not. Angie, oh, so there's the what is progress like? There's the part about cancer. I'm still in chapter 1. There is a graph. There's a graph that says the plateau of latent potential.
Yep.
Do you see that? Okay, so
Mhm.
it's right above
It-
that.
Right above it? Okay.
Yes.
Probably
Paragraph
page,
above it.
mastery requires
Oh,
patience.
yeah, I see it.
You see it?
Page 21.
Yeah. And he says, when nothing seems to help, I go and look at a stonecutter hammering away at his rock, perhaps 100 times without as much as a crack showing in it. Yet at the 101st blow, it will split in two, and I know it was not that last blow that did it, but all that had gone before. John Maxwell gives the example of like cutting down a tree. You know, he has shared that so many times. Like, if you go out with your axe and you hammer it 10 times, eventually your tree is going to fall down, right? And just below that, the paragraph that begins, all big things come from small beginnings. He says, the task of breaking a bad habit is like uprooting a powerful oak within us. And the task of building a good habit is like cultivating a delicate flower one day at a time. Isn't that the truth? Like ending a bad habit, it's like an oak. Like it's, you know, it's who we are. You know, it's who I am. Like ice cream is my favorite food. It's who I am. You know, because he gives that one example. Which chapter is that where he's like, when somebody gets offered a cigarette, and one says, no, I'm trying to stop, and one says, no, I don't smoke. Like those two totally different. Is that chapter 2? Let's just go to chapter 2.
Christy, what were we supposed to be reading for today? Just so I know.
1,
So
2, and 3.
Oh, okay.
Before we get into the laws, we try to do 3 chapters a week unless they're super long. Let's see. Okay, let's see. I did highlight right before the end of chapter 1, though, underneath problem 4. I did like where he said the purpose of setting goals is to win the game. The purpose of building systems is to continue playing the game. True long-term thinking is goal-less thinking. It's not about any single accomplishment. It is about the cycle of endless refinement and continuous improvement. Ultimately, it is your commitment to the process that will determine your progress. You know, and that is related. If you think of any rank that you've ever pushed for, you know, and you're like, I want to go gold, I want to go gold, I want to go gold. And then you go gold and you're like,
I'm here, now what?
yeah. And then you're like, okay, I want to go senior gold. Like, but if it really is just about, I want to help as many people as I can. I want to help 4 people a month start on their health journey. 4 people a month start on the health journey. 4 people. That way, it doesn't matter what rank you are, you're continuing to help people, serve people, and grow. Right? I want to help 4 people a month get started on the health journey and stay on it. Like, it's a different type of goal, right? But it's not sometimes we hit those. I've seen it time and time again. Somebody hits a rank and then they're like, ugh. as if all of a sudden they don't know how to do all the things that they did. to
Well,
get to
sometimes
that
it sometimes burns them out to hit that rank. I mean, I had that personal experience. It was like, I don't want to do that again. It's just like people get to diamond and they're like, I will never do what I had to do to get to diamond again, to get to double diamond. And they don't, because what it did. So you have to get that. You have to get that mindset of, it's not pushing for a rank, like you say, because really, when you're pushing for a rank, if we're all pushing for a physical, tangible thing, typically when we obtain it, we're less than satisfied that we've obtained it, rather than I want to help this many people this month. And that's your goal, because your goal is, it's not even about you anymore. It's about them.
Mhm.
It's not you, other than you're the facilitator to help.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's talk about how your habits shape your identity. Thoughts on chapter 2?
It's got my name all over it
Tell me why.
because I was thinking about habits that I have that are rooted in who I believe myself to be. Things I'll say like, I'm not a morning person. I loathe cleaning house.
And how's that working out for you?
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
I
Well,
can't see anything but your ceiling, but based on what you just said, that's not working out very
well,
well.
I pay someone to clean the house, but I'm not happy with the way they do it.
Okay. Okay.
But I've got clutter. Yeah, you can't see all the clutter that's right behind the phone.
Yeah.
And even the people who come in to clean the house have to clean around the clutter.
Well, my mom used to say, how come the housekeepers do such a better job at your house? I said, because I don't have crap everywhere. They're not going to pick up all of your little crap. Like, pick it up so that they can actually clean, And she was like, once she did that, she's like, oh, they do such a good job. I'm like, yes, yes. But for $120, you're not paying them enough to pick up every single one of your salt and pepper collection. They're not going to move they don't have time. They'll be there all day long moving your crap from place to place.
Mhm.
You know?
That is so funny, Christy, that you said a salt and pepper shaker collection. Because I actually have one. I mean, I don't collect them anymore, but it was started as an accidental gift. And so I've collected a number of them over the years. But anyway, sidebar on that.
Guess what? Housekeepers don't like picking them all up to dust. To
I
pain in the
don't.
ass. But Angie, you're right. Like owning those things, that is,
Mhm.
and that kind of goes along with, your affirmations of just kind of switching it. And if, even if you don't believe it yet,
Mhm.
and you say you're not a morning person, but how many years did you teach?
24.
Were you on time?
Barely.
But yes,
But yeah,
you really are. You might not have loved it, but
I did not. I did not love it.
you were there and you performed your job every morning
Right.
for
Right.
24 years. Right? Like,
Yep. Yep.
I feel like that's something you could just totally get rid of. Like, I don't like getting up in the morning. Or you could just, I don't know. It's up to you. You can keep it. You don't even have to go to school anymore.
Well, that's a recent struggle I've been working on though, is I want to get up earlier because I want to walk in the morning, because I used to have a habit of walking daily
Mhm.
and I wore a smaller size then
Okay.
than what I do now.
Okay.
And so that's why the ouch, along with the paragraph with the lagging measure,
Yeah. You
because
slowly
the
missed
fact
a day here and there.
that I've fallen out of the habit of walking, and that, yes, my eating habits have declined as well, but I don't know that my eating habits were I mean, my eating habits were good, but they weren't stellar
Mhm.
when I was walking. I think the walking had more to do with my weight
Sure.
than the
For
eating.
sure. I would agree.
So that's a habit I want to get back into because I want to be a person who wears a smaller size
I like that.
than what I'm wearing right now.
I like that a lot.
But then I have to be a person who gets out of bed earlier because otherwise, although the weather's turning, but I walk with the dog.
Yeah.
And when it's too hot to walk with the dog, I don't walk,
Yeah.
even though I have a treadmill, but inside walking is boring.
Have you ever thought about like that's your time to watch your favorite show?
I have, or to watch training videos. I've
Like,
tried that. Yeah.
I would though say if your favorite show that you would feel guilty sitting on the couch and watching and doing nothing.
I agree. I agree, Christy. I did that because when it's been hot here in Florida, and so I've had to go to the gym, but walking for an hour or over on the treadmill is absolutely insane. I've tried listening to like motivational podcasts, and it's just so much drudgery. It wasn't
Mhm.
until I was plugging in like a Netflix show that I wanted to watch that all of a sudden I was able to walk that hour without it being a big deal, without me like I'd get to 40 minutes and be like, can we be done?
Yeah.
So,
When I do any treadmill walking, because I hate it's just awful, I always watch a TV show that I love that Rob wouldn't like Real Housewives or Virgin River or whatever, because otherwise you're stacking until you're so comfortable walking on the treadmill that then you're like, hey, let me add work to the work. But see the difference in that? Like, let me add some fun to the work. That's what walking on the treadmill while watching something you love. Saying, okay, I'm got to get my personal development in or a training video in and walk. Now you're like, work. That is not cool.
your
You
brain
gotta
is,
add something good to the work to make it worthwhile.
yeah, your brain fights it otherwise.
Mhm.
Your brain's like, no, that's work.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense because my reasoning behind trying to do it was that I don't make time to watch the videos either. So it's like, let's kill two birds with one stone here.
But
that
instead
makes
you're
a lot of
killing no
sense.
birds.
Yeah.
You killed no birds instead.
Yeah. And help to know people.
Yeah. But it is getting cooler in some places, so that's great. But whatever, that you want to start walking. And I think over the next week or two, you're going to find a place that it fits in to your day, right? And then allowing that system to become a habit. So again, what we've been talking about this whole time is the third and deepest layer is changing your identity. It's changing your beliefs, your worldview, your self-image, your judgments about yourself and others. Most of the beliefs, assumptions, and biases you hold are associated with this level. You know, it's true. I mean, how many people, like, whatever religion they are, that's their identity. Like, how come you don't do whatever? Well, because I'm this, and there's just so many things that we label ourselves with, that become very much our identity. But somewhere along the way, we've thought that we can't change who we are, but we 100% can
Mhm.
if we want to, and a perfect example is Rob's mom, who has been, giving us lots. Anyway, it's a very, very difficult relationship, my relationship with her, and then Rob trying to be stuck in the middle, right? And I can't tell you how many times I've heard, well, she's 70, she's not going to change. It's just who she is. But on the flip side, Rob's real father, who he never really had a relationship with at all, who is also 70, has made, and when we did see him, it was not good and we didn't enjoy it, we'd kind of avoid him. He has made the most remarkable changes and efforts to change things to become a part of our life. And so right there, I'm like, don't tell me somebody that's, they're just going to say what they mean, even if it hurts you and they don't care, blah, 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 because that's just the way they are. Well, that's also how his real father was until he wasn't. Until he realized it was keeping him from having a relationship with his son and his grandchildren. Then he chose to change. And to me, those are big identity things, right? How many
Right.
times you've been like, that's just the way I am, or not? Do you want to stay that way? Like, do I want to be an emerald forever? I don't. So what do I need to change? What systems need to go in place to become a diamond? Right? Like, Angie doesn't want to be wearing the size clothes she is right now. So what is she, going to change that? Gina wants to focus more on things. So what little things will she change to get more focused? Like letting go of the identity of who you've always been. Okay. Is it serving you? If everything you're doing is working great, you don't actually need this book club. If you're good, you're good. Right? But if there are things you want to change, this is going to be a great book for you. I love again, I have no idea what page I'm on. If you go, there's the identity-based habits graph, and then you see it like the 3 circles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, probably a couple pages, 9, 10 paragraphs down. Right before it's the 3 bullet points. So it says true behavior change is identity change. And then there's 3 bullet points. And it says the goal is not to read a book. The goal is to become a reader. The goal is not to run a marathon. The goal is to become a runner. The goal is not to learn an instrument. The goal is to become a musician. And what does that look like to you guys as far as how can you relate that to your business?
Well, the goal is to become the next rank.
Okay. So what's your next rank? You told me once, but I forgot. Is it gold? Senior gold?
Well, first I need to re-rank senior silver and gold.
Okay. So your
My
goal,
highest achieved is gold.
okay. So your goal isn't to become a senior silver. Your goal is to help 10
X
people
number of people.
consistently order a month,
Right.
right? Your goal isn't to become a gold ambassador because nobody cares what gold is. You're not going into the grocery store like, look, I'm a gold ambassador, right? But if you're gold, you now are helping 20 or more people get healthier every single month. What did you do this month? I helped 20 people get healthier and feel better. That means something to anybody in or out of Plexus. Gold ambassador means nothing to anybody outside of Plexus, right?
Mm-hmm.
Playing a role in helping 20 or more people feel better means something to everybody. You see the difference in that?
Yes.
I mean, how does that feel? That's kind of in my mind how I relate it. You guys may have different ideas of how you relate it.
Well, and it still backs down to the habits and the systems that you have to put in place to help those people, because I've struggled all along with just, okay, my goal this month is to add 10 people. So I can sit here and say, my goal is to add 10 people. My goal is to add 10 people. My goal is to add 10 people. But if I'm not doing anything about that, so it's the habits and the systems.
Yeah, if you don't have a habit of reaching out to,
Exactly.
remember how we talked about getting a response from? If you're not in the habit of getting a response from at least 4 people a day.
Right. So I just actually created a graphic and posted on Facebook from the end of chapter 1 about you do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems.
Mhm.
So, and it goes back to what you said about winning day. You have to work the winning day. Here's the system.
Here's
Do
the
it.
system. It's
Yeah.
proven. It works. And then if you don't do it, you slowly.
Which is that lagging measure.
Yes. I look back and I'm like, what happened? Oh, Christy, you haven't marked a winning day since August 9th. Oh, that happened. Right? Like I can go only, let me see. Hold on, give you an idea. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I went back 7 sheets, right? So that should be 1 week of winning day. Do you know what the date is on this one that I just went to 7 days ago? June 6th. June 6th.
So you've had
So
7 winning days since
I've
June
done
6th.
7 winning days since June 6th. And granted, I may have done some days I may have done it all, but the habit of writing it down.
Mhm.
And I can't tell you when I first started doing this, how many times Rob would be like, haven't you finished that sheet yet? Because I'd be like, I don't have 3 people to reach out to. I don't have 3 people to ask about the business. I don't have 3 people to ask about the business. And he'd be like, friggin' just ask anybody so we can go to bed. Because that's how seriously I was taking this. And then I stopped. I'm like, I know how to do most of it. I do. But like Genevieve says over and over, like you can pretty much know how to make chocolate chip cookies. But if you leave out the brown
eggs.
sugar, they're not going to taste as good. Like just leaving out one thing.
Right.
Right? Leaving out one step. Now, all of a sudden, they might be edible, but they're not going to be as great as if you included every single one.
Mhm.
So when it comes to growing, it's not malarkey. I watched my outside leg grow insane amounts by doing the winning day. And for you guys, it's just growing your team right now. You don't even have to be focused on an outside leg. But when you create those habits of adding 3 to 4 people a month, level 1s, your outside leg is never going to be a concern. It just won't. Other thoughts? This is where we were talking about where I'm terrible with directions. I'm not a morning person. I'm bad at remember. Like, you don't have to. We all have those things that we claim as our own. It's just who we are.
Mhm.
And I think this week would be a good opportunity to maybe write some of those things down. Like, who am I? And make a list. This is not in the book, I don't think. I may have just made this up. Make a list of who am I? As many things as you can think of, labels that you have given yourself, and then decide which of those do you want to keep and which do you want to get rid of. And we can do some work in that area. But sometimes we're just flying by the seat of our pants and we don't even know, and we don't even notice it. Right? Like how many years, Angie, have you been saying I'm not a morning person?
Probably since high school.
But what if you were, and you were a person that woke up every morning and walked her dogs? What if you were that? You don't have to say, I love the mornings, but what if you were a person that wakes up every morning and walks her dogs? You can't be both.
Right.
And I'm not asking you to like be something you're not, but you can totally be a person who wakes up and walks her dogs every morning. Anybody else? Anybody else carrying labels that are not serving you?
Oh, I'm terrible with tech.
Go ahead.
Debbie, you go, and then Abby, you go after Debbie.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I say to myself, I'm terrible with technology, except for I am getting better. So I don't say that anymore as often.
I'm a true story witness. Debbie has been saying that for a very long time. True
I
story.
say that too.
Abby, what do you got?
My main one that I used to say, and I actually used to joke about it to the point someone gave me a magnet that says, I used to be indecisive, but now I'm not so sure. But it's actually come back to kind of bite me because as an adult and as single mom and for 3 years, it's been a real struggle to make decisions for myself and for my children and feel confident in the decisions that I've been making. So that's one label that I'm trying to lose, if you will, or maybe turn it around in the sense that I am capable of making decisions. I am capable of standing by them. And I am capable that if, for whatever reason, if the decision I made was not the right one, figuring out how to handle whatever comes next.
I love that. I love that because you can totally be someone who stands by their decisions.
But it has been a real hindrance. It's, you
Yeah.
know, I do think it's been partly to hindrance with my Plexus business. It's because I'm so unsure of things that I don't want to make the wrong decision. So I think it all goes hand in hand just in all areas of my life. And it's just being confident in making those decisions and stop making that statement and believing into that narrative.
Yeah, I love that. I love that a lot. And I love that you're already working on it. You know,
Yeah.
to recognize it and be working on it is really huge because I can see how, you know, in my first marriage, you guys, by the time he left me, I hadn't picked out my own outfit in over a year.
Oh, wow.
He laid out the clothes that I was supposed to wear every day. Like I had lost, and y'all, going into the marriage, I was just as independent and hard-headed as I am now. I don't even know how it happened. I don't know how it got to the point where I wasn't even confident picking out
That
my
is
own outfit.
the thing about those types of relationships that unless you've been in it, you don't
You
understand
don't
how
know.
someone that is so intelligent and independent and strong-headed and can lose so much of their self. And that's where I'm at. I've lost myself and I'm trying to get it back. And it sometimes it's embarrassing because at my age, I'm like, I should be better than this. I should know better than this. But it's my story. I can't go back and change it. I wouldn't change it because I wouldn't have my kids and all that good stuff. But I'm sorry. Y'all should see this. This dog, I was trying to get him out the bed so I can concentrate, and now he's just laying down in my spot. So sorry I got sidetracked. But
No, it's absolutely a process. It's such a process. You know, it kind of went from like him bringing clothes to me in the dressing room, and I thought that was cute and nice, to like, oh, you can't wear that. To, here, let me just tell you let me get this out for you while you're in the shower, to me never having like, it's fascinating, and it's a process to get back to who you are. But here's one thing that I firmly believe: anytime we go through any kind of trauma and we're like, I just want to be back to who I was, we will never ever be who we were. We will only be who we are meant to become after the trauma we went through, whether it's mental trauma, physical trauma, you know, whatever it looks like. I mean, and I'm even saying like trauma, like my shoulder surgery, like that was a trauma to my body. My body will never be the same as it was before they hacked into my arm, right? So knowing and kind of letting go of like whoever we are, we're supposed to be, whatever, just like we are exactly where we're supposed to be right now, being the best that we can be today and making changes. And I think showing up here and doing things like this and doing personal development and trying to get better, Abby, recognizing areas where you're weak, you know, and like all of you like saying, hey, these are areas where I maybe don't want this label anymore, is huge, because lots of times we have to get rid of certain labels to take new ones on. Right?
Well,
No, if you don't.
Yeah. Yeah, you gotta just get rid of some to have room for others.
Absolutely.
Because, like I said to Angie, you can't be someone who hates mornings and someone who gets up every morning to walk her dogs. You can't be both. Pick one. Which is better? You know? And also patience. As was this thing, and like patience is the name of the game. It doesn't happen. Angie, you're not gonna wake up tomorrow like, it's the morning, let's go. But probably in 6 months, you're not even gonna think. Your alarm goes off and you get up and you're like, gosh, you're like,
Well,
let's go.
and
dogs.
I was at that point at one time. I remember the morning that I woke up and kind of felt like this, it's been years ago now, but I woke up one morning and thought, I'm not sure I want to walk today. But then I couldn't figure out what to do with myself until I went for a walk. And then the rest of the day could proceed. So I want to get
You
back to
already
that.
know how it works,
Mhm,
right?
mhm.
You know? And so it's just deciding to change. Okay, we got 7 more minutes. What else did you guys see? This is what we were just talking about. You know, it's a 2-step process. Decide the type of person you want to be and then prove it to yourself with small wins. For me right now, it's just going to the gym. I can't do jack squat there, but I just go. You know, Andrew made fun of me today because I was like, here, go put these weights up. And he was like, what is this? I'm like, it's a 3-pound dumbbell. Go put it up, you little snot. Not really. I didn't say that. But like, that's where I am. Even though I have 2 and 3-pound dumbbells at my house, I know in my mind, I need to get back to the gym. So I go to the gym and I play with their 3-pound dumbbell because that's what I need to do for me. So prove it to yourself with small wins. Today I showed up. That's all. I showed up
That's the 1%.
and I curled a 3-pound dumbbell. Kudos to me. Like,
Yes, absolutely.
you know, because honestly, what, 10 weeks ago, I couldn't even like do my cup. So Rob, my husband's convinced that it's these big mugs that caused my bicep to tear. I'm like, you're out of your mind. But thank you. Thank you. You know, did you stay at a Holiday Inn last night? Because I appreciate your professional opinion of how that happened. Okay, chapter 3, how to build better habits in 4 simple steps. He talks about the research they did with the cat. And he had 12 times to perform to try to escape out of the thing that they had him in. And first time it took him 160 seconds, then 30 seconds, then 90 seconds, 60 seconds, then 15, then 28, then 20, then 30, 22, all the way down to where his last ones were 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 8 seconds, 6 seconds, 6 seconds, and 7 seconds. So he took this cat from going 160 seconds to get out to 7 and 6 consistently. And he really talks about in this chapter of like how our brain builds habits. And the more we do something, we really start to get away from all the obstacles. Like, what is the fastest way for me to do this? And that's why, like, when I say, I know for some people doing this winning day, it causes them so much stress and anxiety. It might take them forever. It was taking me 30 minutes a day. Like, at what point did I say, let me cut 5 minutes off and not do it? To all of a sudden, like, not doing, you know, but when I first started it, like I said, I was like, it'd be 9 o'clock and Rod'd be like, can you please finish that worksheet? And I'd be like, but, and Angie walking your dog. When you first didn't, you're like, I don't even know what to do. Right? Because you had built in your brain, you're like, I wake up, I walk the dog. I wake up, I walk the dog. Right? There's no obstacles. There's no like, oh, should I have a cup of coffee first? Oh, should I like, do you know what I'm saying? Like when you do something so many times, you do it quicker because you've removed all of the obstacles. Let's see. And this too, which is great, as habits are created, the level of activity in the brain decreases. And proof of that, we have all witnessed. How many of you, there's a certain place, maybe it was your job, maybe it was your kid's school or whatever, where you've driven it so many times, you remember getting in the car and you remember arriving, but you don't remember anything in between. You know, and there's science to show if an emergency happened, you immediately go back into the conscious space to react to the emergency and handle it. But if nothing out of the ordinary happens on that drive, you're totally in your subconscious space and you don't remember any of it. And habits are the same way, good habits and bad habits. Right? Like apparently there are humans out there that will get a scoop of ice cream out of the half gallon and put it in a bowl and eat it. I've never been that human. My humanness gets a spoon and eats a half gallon of ice cream, right? Like when I watch people put a scoop of ice cream in a bowl, I am like, why would you do that? How could you only want one scoop? Like my brain, it doesn't even process that, you know, driving. But that's the thing. Like Angie, your brain didn't know what to do when you tried to pivot your habit.
Mhm.
But then it's the tiny pivots back where all of a sudden we're like, oh, now your brain forgot. It wakes up and walks the dog. I think we probably all have things like that,
Mhm.
right? All of us could make a list of things that we do without thinking. That may be a good list to make too, because again, those are habits we want to break. Do we snack without meaning to? Like, do we really think through grabbing food out of the fridge or the pantry? I saw a meme the other day that I sent to my husband because it was so perfect. And it was like, opened the pantry door and got a bag of chips and had eaten half the bag of chips before I decided if I even wanted chips as my snack. Like, how often do we do that? Like, you know, if I'm hungry and I don't know what I want to eat, I'm like eating cashews. Turns out like 4 cashews is a serving. To me, 4 cashews is a finger, like what? That doesn't count. I haven't even
Right.
started eating yet. Right? So, and that's like portion control. So if we want to lose weight, portion control is important. But subconsciously, our mind, you know, like how many times could you go like to Subway and you get one of those little baggage chips and you eat it and you're fine. But if you're at home and you got the big bag of chips, all of a sudden you've eaten 3/4 of the bag. You didn't actually need it. It was just there.
Right.
So it's subconsciously, we do things that we actually can reverse.
Mm-hmm.
For any, again, it's the systems. Like if we want to lose weight, we walk. If we want, thank you, Debbie, for jumping on. If we want to lose weight, we eat more. Does that mean like I pay the extra amount to buy the little bags of chips in our house? Because my child will take an entire bag of Doritos into his room and all of a sudden it's empty. But if he takes a little bag, he doesn't ever get a second one. He's 12. He's not trying to like portion control, but he's going to mindlessly watch YouTube and finish a bag. So sometimes it's making those little changes. Again, I pay more for the small bags of chips because my child and my husband eat too many. I'm not salty. I have to not buy the M&Ms because I eat the M&Ms. They're not here. I don't eat them.
Yeah.
And that's a small habit. And I can't tell you how many times last year when I stopped eating sugar, I would go down the candy aisle because that was my habit. what's on sale this week? And they'll be like, oh, I'm not eating sugar, so I'm not going to buy the sugar. Funny thing is, everybody in the house stops eating sugar if mom doesn't buy it, whether they mean to or not. Okay, what do you guys, we're done. I went 1 minute over. Final thoughts, questions? Everybody on board with like making a list of like, who am I? Perfect. Let's make a list of who am I, and let's decide what we don't want to be anymore patiently, and maybe make a list of who you want to become, because then you can start creating systems around that. Anything else? End of chapter 3, and everybody may not have had a chance to read it, but he talks about the habit loop, which is very much what we were just talking about. You know, cue, craving, response, reward. But the problem phase is the cue and the craving, like I want a snack. The response is standing in the pantry, eating a whole bag of chips before you knew what you wanted to eat. Your reward in that case is probably going to be slowly extra pounds.
Mhm.
Reward is actually the result, right? So
Right.
being smart about what our response is. All right, you guys, you're going to go down farther, and it talks about how to create a good habit and how to break a bad habit. I love the inversion of the first law of the cue, make it invisible. That's just what I just said. If I don't buy the M&Ms, I don't make
Right,
the
you
M&Ms.
don't
I'm
need
not driving, I'm not stopping at a gas station to buy a little thing of M&Ms. I'm either buying the family pack at the Kroger or I'm not. Right? It's just, that's how it works for me. Also, because I don't drive anywhere except for the gym.
And you're really not buying M&Ms on your way home from the gym.
And usually I go to the grocery store right after the gym. So it's,
Oh,
you know, but it's that whole like where my life has been cattywampus for the last 5-6 months, where now I'm like, all right, like I saw some pictures in Mexico. I'm not a super I'm like, who has 3 rolls? Oh, me, that's cool. All right, who took the picture of me sitting slumped over on the side of the pool? Where I'm like, oh, somebody should have told me to sit up. But whatever, I'm here. I know what I can do, and I know what I have to do to get there. So then
Right.
it's making the decision,
right,
each of you, whether it's your weight, whether it's your clutter in your house, whether it's how many people you add, you get, what do you want to work on? And make some lists, and then let's share. I would love to share throughout this journey habits that we are working on adding and breaking so that we can encourage each other in our book study chat. Angie, tomorrow, if you get up and walk the dogs, let's shout the win out. If somebody reaches out and gets 4 responses, let's shout it out. Like, let's encourage each other. Like, let's set some things of what systems we're trying to work on, habits we're trying to create, and then celebrate the wins with each other.
okay.
Or Angie, you're like, it's hot. I don't want to walk the dog in there. And we'll be like, Angie, get
on the
up,
treadmill.
get on the treadmill, watch a show. I'm really liking this show right now. You should go watch it. It's become a place of encouragement.
Right, right.
All right.
Not torture.
Like that.
Yes. Yep. All right, you guys, as you make your lists and stuff, I'm going to close out that book study chat and let's start a new one. And then if anybody wants to be added, they can, because I know there's still some people in there that weren't in the other one. Gina, what were you going to say?
Okay, this has nothing to do with this.
All right,
Would
let me,
you
I'll
mind
stop the recording.
posting